Hello, and welcome to Forget What You Learned, a place for families to stop and reflect on the modern state of education. We empower you to challenge your own thinking about today's traditional school system and ask the question, are my kids thriving? I'm Cory Greenberg, a parent in the trenches just like you, and I chat with innovators, experts, and other parents who are changing the conversation, inspiring families to reevaluate how we define academic success. This podcast is brought to you by Pacific Preparatory and Tutor Corps, sister organizations molding education through innovative one-on-one learning for students in today's digital world. In today's episode, producer Mel joins the conversation as we talk with Bristyl Garvin, a mom of 6 who describes herself as someone who just knows they can do hard things, like envision her dream school and then actually make it happen. Like many parents, Bristyl thought the public education she received as a kid would be just fine for her own family. But when the reality of standardized testing, check the minimal box arts and music, and a one-size-fits-all approach left her second grader hiding in the bathroom before daily reading quizzes, she knew she had to do something. Fast forward a few years, and we dig into what makes her school, the Treehouse Academy, an educational utopia. Enjoy! Well, hello, and welcome to the podcast. Today, I'm joined by producer Mel Nichols as we chat with Bristyl Garvin, founder and head of a micro school in the San Diego area called the Treehouse Academy. Mel's oldest daughter attended Treehouse before they moved cross country, and she was so inspired by what Bristyl built from scratch. We felt like everyone needed to hear her story. What's so relatable is Bristyl's initial enthusiasm for the traditional public system that she grew up in as the right place for her oldest daughter as she entered kindergarten. What she quickly discovered, though, was the scaling back of art, music, character education, and field trips to make way for standardized tests and a one-size-fits-all approach. She saw her daughter start to lose her joy for learning, only to be replaced with stress and anxiety. Hence, Bristyl dove into the pages of books about progressive education and started to envision a dream school, one that incorporates many things we know to be true about education, but that traditional schools have been too slow to implement. Welcome to the podcast, Bristyl. Mel and I cannot wait to hear more.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, let's just dive in. Can you just talk to us a little bit about your story? Like, what are the issues that you identified in the traditional system when your oldest was entering kindergarten that just would not work for your family?
Well, honestly, in kindergarten, I thought everything was fine because I went to a traditional school. And so I just did what most people do, which is move to an area that has really highly rated schools so that my kids could go to the very best schools. And it was all fine in kindergarten, even in first grade. I mean, I feel like people who become teachers because they love children. And so in those younger grades, it really was more about play and discovery. And it wasn't until my oldest daughter was in second grade that she really started to struggle and not want to go to school. And she would say things like, I don't like reading, or she would, one thing in particular. So in her classroom, every morning they would take a quiz on whatever book they had read the night before. And just to make sure that they had read it, but it was a quiz that they had to take. And I didn't learn until later that my daughter had pretended like she had to go to the bathroom when I took her to school in the morning because she was so worried that she would get something wrong on this quiz. And we would practice, and I would ask her questions about the book that she'd read and try to build up her confidence every morning. But she developed this anxiety that she thought that she was going to get it wrong. And so then she began to associate quizzes with reading, as opposed to reading is wonderful. And, we can learn about the world and discover new things when we open a book. So yeah, it was really sad for me to watch as a mom. And she didn't want to go to school in the morning. She developed these terrible stomach aches that I thought, maybe she had an allergy that I needed to figure out. It took me quite a while to get to the point where we figured out that it was anxiety and that it was related to going to our classroom every day.
Oh my goodness, that is heartbreaking, and also, again, to use the word relatable, I think so many parents have gone through that. I personally relate to that with the behavior charts. My When my oldest entered, public school and kindergarten, he was became obsessed with those behavior charts where you got on the top level. And I remember one time they said, to get to the top level, you have to smile. So he would like plaster this fake smile on his face
Oh
so that
no.
he could get to that top level. And it's just kind of what you're saying about like losing the focus of the point. The point of reading is to explore the world and also to work on your fluency and all those things. But when it becomes just about the test, that's a whole different thing.
Right. And then once you open that, I mean, I feel like it's a can of worms. Like, wait, what else are we quizzing and testing instead of actually letting children? I mean, I feel like we've kind of lost the purpose of education in this quest to make sure that every child um, meets this certain level in every academic area. And I think it's a shame because we're kind of losing the purpose of education in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. You're like feeling this frustration, or this sort of just sadness, I assume, knowing
Yes.
that your daughter has this like anxiety about going to school, and school is supposed to be a place that she loves to go, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And I know a lot of like families and parents resonate with that feeling for their own kiddos.
Right.
Um,
And for different reasons too.
right.
Sometimes it's behavioral. Their child just
Yep.
doesn't really fit into that box, or they're really creative and they're asked to just do the same thing the way that everyone else does it. And so I feel like there's so many families who just feel like this model that we've all been taught is the way that we should teach, maybe really doesn't fit anyone.
Right, right. And so you went and you created a school. And I love that. I love that. And it's I mean, I've seen one of your campuses, and I know you have a second one now, and it just seems like you're growing and expanding, and it's just really amazing to watch you, by the way. But that's a significant undertaking and definitely an incredible accomplishment. So I have to know, like, how did you make this all happen? How did
Oh
you
my
just
goodness. Oh, okay. So I would say the you have to be a little bit crazy to decide that you're going to start a school. So I think I was just maybe born with a little bit of this idea that I can do things that are hard. And then number two is having a really, really, really supportive husband was key for me because I have 6 children. And so there is no way that you can be the person who takes everyone to piano and the person who makes dinner every night and the person who does all the laundry when you're also creating a school. I mean, it just takes so much time and energy and creative energy and ideas. And so to have a spouse who from day one, I feel like he knew that I could start a school before even I knew that I could start a school. And so yeah, he just helps with all of the things. And then even where the school is concerned, he helps with obviously technology because that's not my strong suit. Things like assembling furniture or helping out when our website is glitching. Or yesterday, he was helping lay the floor in one of our new classrooms that we're opening. So he just wears every hat and helps with all of the things that I can't do. I'm definitely it's my idea. And then I'm able to ask him to step in, and he just fills that space for me in a way that I'm just so grateful for.
That's really great. And it's, yeah, nice to have that, like, here is my vision, and now to your supportive partner to say like, hey, now I need help with like the logistics of the tech and the laying the floors and putting together the furniture. That's really
Yes.
awesome.
And it's
Um,
lots of late nights because it's so much. I mean, we get our kids to bed at 8, and then it's like, okay, we're going to work, and we're going to create this manual or this brochure or this advertising campaign until we can't keep our eyes open anymore and then wake up and do it all over again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're being such a good model for your own kids too. And I love what you said about being born knowing that you can do things that are hard, because I think that's a skill all of our kids need to learn actually. So they're
Yeah.
actually watching you do it in real time, which is really cool. Um, will you tell everyone, Bristol, kind of what are the foundations of Treehouse Academy? Like, what makes it different? Obviously, I know that a joy of learning is something that's very important to you. What else? Like, what makes it your dream school?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, when I left traditional education, I homeschooled for a period, and then I found a school called Acton Academy, which is really well known in the world of alternative education. And I worked there. And then the things that I thought were missing in that model were the things that I brought into Treehouse. So that's the art and music component, and then also the outdoor education. So I think that makes us really special. We bring in professional artists and musicians to teach our students every week, usually twice a week. Sometimes if it's like an hour and a half class, like really intense, we'll only do that once a week with a specialist in the field of some sort of art or music. And they come in and they teach our students. And I think it just enriches the classroom experience. In traditional schools, I just think that art and music has been removed almost entirely, or it has to serve a purpose. Like, okay, well, it
Mm,
has to relate to language arts if you're going to do art with your kindergartners. And it's just, I think, a little bit laughable because there's so much that we learn from expressing ourselves and from being able to be creative. And that component is essential, I think, in a school. And then our Fridays, every Friday, we go on a field trip that is associated with what the kids are already learning in the classroom. So that's really wonderful because not only do they get the chance to meet with experts in the field or explore or experience whatever we're studying out in nature, which obviously here in San Diego the weather is perfect almost year round. And so we get to go out, and we just did an amazing field trip. Just a few weeks ago, we were studying entomology. And so we went to the San Diego River Foundation, and our students got to take samples of insect larvae in the San Diego River and then look at them under microscopes and identify if the contamination levels in the water. And anyway, it was wonderful. But that's just a small example of what we do every Friday.
yeah, that's really great. And I mean, having had my daughter attend your school, I think one of the things that I really loved about it was just all that outdoor exploration, whether it was on a field trip day on Fridays or just like during the week when they would have snack outside and just like spend a lot of time outside. It like gave like summer camp a bit, which I think is the direction that feels really good, and like that there's like that joy component that is sometimes missing when you're always in a classroom sort of inside. Maybe you go onto just like a blacktop, you're like under fluorescent lights doing lots of worksheets. I like love that, like getting out into the world component, especially in San Diego because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our students love it too. You get that sense when you enter our classrooms how engaged our students are. And because every child has an individualized learning plan, they're really able to explore things that are interesting to them or grow in areas where they're really passionate about something. And yeah, obviously, lots of time outside. We put in a garden at our first campus in Liberty Station, and it is so beautiful. And yeah, our kids get to go and, explore the garden or read outside on the grass instead of sitting at their desk reading their book for the day. So lots of time outside. And I think it's really, you can tell when you enter our classroom that there's something really special there.
it also sounds like, movement is so integrated into their day, which I think is so important for kids, to be in the right headspace to learn and take in information. Like they also have to be able to move around as opposed to
Yes.
sitting in a desk all day long.
Sitting
My
in their
question
desk
is,
doing a worksheet.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Well, and
Yeah.
to what you just said about, your students being on individual learning plans, can you talk about what that looks like in terms of, learning math and English? It's Treehouse is kind of Montessori inspired in that way. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. And our younger studio we call Sprout Studio. That's our TK through first grade classroom. That is primarily, I would say, 90% Montessori in that classroom. But just because we believe in that experience of kids being able to touch and feel and experience learning as opposed to like sit down and do this worksheet. But the way that through our curriculum, as students progress from one classroom to the next, their independence level increases. So in our youngest classroom, our Sprout Studio, the students have a checklist that they do every day. And that shows them, okay, I need to do this in math, this in spelling, this in reading. And they get to choose where they do it within the classroom. They don't have to sit at their desk all day. They can choose a spot. They can sit in the library to do their work if they'd like, or on the carpet to do their work. And then when students progress to the Discovery Studio, they have a goal sheet that they set for the day, for the week, and then for a 6-week period as well. And so that allows them to, let's say they're really loving what they're doing in, let's say, math. And so they can progress through the math curriculum as slowly or as quickly as they need to, because just because a child is really good at fractions, they might struggle with long division. And so we give them however much time they need in order to master each concept, and then they move on. So I think that's probably one thing that really separates us from traditional school, is that in a traditional school, everyone has to take the test on Friday. But one child could have been ready to take the test 2 weeks ago, and one child is really struggling and they need at least another week to master the concept, but it doesn't matter because we have to move on to the new chapter on Monday.
Yeah.
And so what we find are in traditional education systems is that there are all these holes that are created because you technically passed the test, but you still missed out on a portion of the things that you were meant to learn. And in education, everything builds on the last thing that you learned. So um, it's such a shame.
It's actually so interesting that you just said that about leaving a hole, because I think one common misconception about, a Montessori or any like learner centered approach is that that creates holes because there's somehow not some standard that you can measure every kid is doing this, same thing. So can you speak to that a little bit? Like how do you, for a kid who loves math but may not love reading, how do you ensure
Yeah.
if they get choice that they're going to be up to speed, so to speak, on all of those basic reading skills?
Yeah, great question. So we have a badge system, kind of think about like the Boy Scouts or something, or Girl Scouts. So what happens is every child knows exactly what the expectations and the requirements are for each academic area. So if a child comes into our school and they're technically in second grade, then we place them in we do placement assessments for them to figure out exactly where they are in reading, writing, math. And then from there, we build. And then when a child completes all of the requirements for, let's say, level 2 spelling, then they earn their level 2 spelling badge. But what that means is they might have more time to spend in another area. They might, because they've already completed all of their spelling, they might have more time to spend in math. So it's not that we don't have requirements or that we don't have curriculum. It's that is all set. What
Mhm.
isn't set is the rate in which they complete all of the requirements. And then, of course, after a child completes all of their level 2 requirements in every academic area and also in character development, then they move on to level 3, which is technically third grade. Um, but yeah, it's not at the same time as anyone else. They get to do it at their own pace, and we obviously we have markers within the school itself to make sure that they stay on track with their goals. We check in with them on a daily basis, making sure that the goals that they've set are, we call it, in their challenge zone, so that they're not setting goals that are too difficult for them or too easy for them. And yeah, but it's definitely a process of
Yeah.
making sure we have their input and making sure that they're staying on track with the goals that they set.
Yeah, it makes me think too of, I think a question a lot of people have, and my kids, went to Montessori when they were young. So I speak
Oh,
and my sister's a Montessori teacher. So I definitely speak this language. And some of the questions that come up too around this is like, what about the kid who's not self-motivated? Or because it does
yeah,
require, and I love it for building that independence, but some kids struggle with that. So I guess the question is Treehouse for every child? Is it for kids who learn differently, for kids who might struggle with motivation? Is it for
yeah.
everyone?
Well, you know what I'll say is that it's really, um, if a child isn't naturally motivated, like internally at first, when they're surrounded by peers who are cheering them on and who celebrate their accomplishments, and there's this team mentality that is built, that they want to accomplish goals because they want to lift one another within a classroom. So I feel like as long as you have that camaraderie between the students, it kind of happens naturally. And then that motivation does come, even if maybe day one when they started at Treehouse, wasn't something that they already had, that they're able to develop it because it's such an inspiring and motivating experience for them to be with their peers who want them to do well. But yeah, and then to your question, is it for everyone? I would say the one thing that, okay, so because we go on all of these field trips and because we spend so much time in the community, behavior is important. So the one thing that we have struggled with, um, and not all the time, but we have had a couple of students in the 3 years since we have opened Treehouse that haven't been able to master the behavioral component. And it really isn't safe if let's say you're exploring the San Diego River and a child doesn't listen when they're asked to come back or stay with the group, then maybe that child might not be a good fit for the school, and not because they're not wonderful humans, but truly it's a safety thing. So I would say that's the only area where it has been difficult for a couple of students that we have said, maybe this isn't the right fit for you. And at the same time, if a parent is um, really protective of their child and they don't want them in a public place, then because once again, we're out in the community, if a child is, or if a parent is, I would say a helicopter parent, then they wouldn't be comfortable at our school because they would be concerned that, wait, but they see strangers, or, they, I don't know, go on these field trips and I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that, then it probably wouldn't be the right fit for the family, because you do have to have a level of comfortableness with your child kind of exploring and doing things that are outside the norm of a traditional school.
That makes a lot of sense. And there has to be like a level of trust, it sounds like,
Absolutely.
too. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That we will take excellent care of your child, and but they also will get to explore this great thing with their classmates.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And it seems like academically it could work for all children, but you provide a lot of autonomy at Treehouse, and therefore that does require just some basic safety, like ability to cooperate and follow guidelines and that sort of thing when out in the world. Um,
100%. Yeah. And
yeah.
even within the classroom as well, because
Mm-hmm.
when the children are working on their independent work cycle, if one child, just decides that they're going to like make really loud noises and run around the room, that's not appropriate. So we would obviously try to point them in a different direction, help them to choose an activity that might be more like allow them to wiggle a little bit. But, it is in a classroom space. There has to be a standard of making sure that they're not disrupting others, that sort of thing.
Right, right. Bristol, how do you hire your teachers? Do you seem to find that they resonate with your model already and they're ready to go, or do you have to do a lot of training? Do you find, like, what has been your experience with hiring all these? And you've met them; they're wonderful. So I'm wondering, do they come in
Yes.
already loving what you're doing and just get it, or do you spend a lot of time kind of coaching and supporting?
Um, well, I just have to say that we have the best teachers. We call them guides.
Mhm.
truly the best human beings at our school. And I would say that um, what is difficult is finding. hmm, so what's hard is that because we're a brand new school, that we don't have, for example, we don't have a pension plan and we don't have 401k matching. Um, we just started providing health insurance for all of our employees. So we're getting there and trying to put those things
Mhm.
together. But for someone who has come from traditional education, that system and breaking from that is really hard for some people to choose because they've been ingrained in it for so long. And even if they see, oh, like the way that public schools run classrooms isn't conducive to the way that children learn, and we wish that we could do something different, that it's still hard for them to break away from that. um, just because I can't offer them everything that a public school teacher is offered, as far as those extra benefits. But what they do gain from working at Treehouse is that they get to enjoy the children. They get to meet each child exactly where they're at, and that freedom and autonomy that I extend to the students, I also extend to our guides, so that the classroom becomes what they want it to be, and oftentimes what they always hoped that education could be. So yeah,
Yeah,
but it is
absolutely.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, I taught in the traditional model. And one thing that I always wanted to do was sort of create my own mini school in my classroom. But because you have to use the books that they've already ordered for you, and I can remember like going into my classroom and there was just like a pile of like hundreds of books that I was like meant to use to teach the curriculum for that year. I can see like the pros and cons of, maybe you're not getting these benefits. And I appreciate you being transparent about that, by the way. Just like what it takes to start up a school and kind of how that works when you're like just trying to make it happen. Um, and, and also like the idea that you get the same autonomy that the students get at a school where they can sort of make it their own. And I just have to give a shout out to Mrs. Devin, who
Because
is my
she's the
daughter's
best.
teacher. Yeah, we love her, and Mrs. Victoria too, who were, I know it's like a couple of your like first teachers that you had, and they're amazing. I mean, they're just incredible. So,
Yes,
um,
amazing
yeah,
people. I mean, I love what I do every day. And it's not just because I love the students so much, but also because the women that I get to work with are just brilliant.
absolutely.
It's really so cool. And when we've talked to some other fabulous people with these amazing kind of progressive school concepts, and what it always makes me think of is, and you Bristol are certainly a dreamer. Like, you had this dream and you made it happen. So if you were to dream on this bigger scale of reaching everyone, because you are a private school, and the reality is, in this country, not everyone can afford a private school. So if you were to take Treehouse and allow it to grow into kind of the public space, like, what do you think that could look like? Or do you ever think about that concept of, like, how can we reach more people with this kind of school model?
Oh my gosh, all the time. I there's just I mean, our wait list has a wait list, and there's just more. I just wish that I could reach more children. I feel like if we had school choice, where the money given to the state for education was just given to the family, and then they were able to choose where they send their child to school, it would absolutely, I would change the world. And I think it's just such a shame because families who would be philosophically aligned, but they don't have the ability to do that because it's so expensive. And obviously we do our very best to keep the costs low. I mean, compared to other private schools, Treehouse is very affordable, but that's, I mean, it's still, it's not fair that it's put on families. I just think we all pay a lot of taxes. And so I wish that the money could follow the child as opposed to just being put in this big pot that's just kind of dispersed in the public education system. I think it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I think this is a good time to move to our lightning round question. So, are you ready for us?
Yes.
Okay, good. As ready as you'll ever be, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. So the first question in our lightning round is, what's your favorite education or parenting book you think others should read?
Oh my gosh. Ooh, I love The Self-Driven Child.
Awesome. Yes, I have
Yeah,
heard of that one
that's really
before.
hard though. There's so many good ones. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Well, that's a
Okay.
good one. Okay, the
Yeah,
second
that's a
question
great
is,
one.
actually, I feel like this might be the hardest question for you to answer. What do you
Okay.
do in your free time? Because it doesn't sound like you have much of it.
Oh my gosh. So I love to cook. Like love it, love it, love it. And I never follow a recipe. Like I read the recipe and then I make it my own. And I love it. And my kids always ask me like, "Oh my gosh, mom, this is so good. What did you put in it?" And I always say, "I put the secret ingredient," which they all know is love. And they
Aw,
just laugh. They think it's hilarious. Like, "Mom, I think you put extra of the secret ingredient in this one." So,
I
anyway.
love that. I love that.
That's really
Okay,
sweet.
that's
That's sort of
awesome.
it's like synonymous. It's sort of similar to your school, um, kind of like reading the general recipe for education, and then you're like, no, no, let me just do it my own way. Actually,
Yeah, and put lots of the extra ingredient, that's for
yes.
sure. Yes.
I love that. Okay, number three is, what do you think children need more of in this world in one word?
Patience, like
Hmm.
from us. I think as adults, we have to be more patient with our kids and just meet them exactly where they're at instead of expecting them to be adults already. They need our patience.
Yeah, I love that. Number four, what's your favorite feel good song?
Ooh, okay. I'm a hardcore Taylor Swift fan, so I think "Cruel Summer" is one of my favorites right now that I love to listen to.
Love it. Love it. I bet the kids love that too. All the kids today love T Swift.
Yeah, my kids especially, they know every word, and we have some pretty awesome jam sessions in the car when we're driving together.
Love it. Okay, last but not least is, if you could summon anything to your desk, like with a magic button, what would it be?
Oh gosh, that's hard. Summon something to my desk. Ooh, well, it's past lunchtime, so I would say a really yummy salad from Tender Greens sounds really good right now.
Nice, nice. I like coming in with the healthy thing. I thought you were going to say like coffee or something like
Uh,
that.
oh, I love Tender Greens. I think it's so good.
Nice. All right.
Yes,
Well, that was great.
lots
You
of
did so great in the lightning round. So I guess just to wrap up here, where can people find you, Bristol? Where can they find Treehouse? And if is there anything you want to share about like anything amazing coming up for you?
Ooh, well, I mean, we have summer camps for the next 3 weeks, so that's exciting. And you can find us at thetreehouseacademy.org. And follow us on Instagram. We're the.treehouse.academy on Instagram. And I love posting on Instagram because then you can see all of the field trips that we go on, our exploration Fridays. So that's kind of fun to follow along. I'll have moms say like, "Oh my gosh, we've been following you for years, and we always show our kids what you do on Fridays." So that's pretty special.
Oh, nice. And you have two campuses, right? Bristol, one in Carlsbad and one in Liberty Station, or
Correct. Yeah.
okay.
One in, and the one in Liberty Station, because we opened that one first, we have a middle school there. And we'll eventually extend all the way through 12th grade. So we're just growing with our students. And that's why our campus in Carlsbad right now only goes up until 5th grade. But we'll keep adding. We'll keep adding and growing with our kids.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Well, we have just really enjoyed having you on today to just tell your story and talk about the Treehouse Academy. And I just really admire you for having that dream and going out and getting it and spreading that your vision to all of these kids. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It's my absolute pleasure. I absolutely love what I do, and it's an honor that I don't take lightly that families trust their kids to come to Treehouse.
Definitely.
Great.
Thank you, Stella.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Forget What You Learned, hosted by me, Cory Greenberg. As always, our goal is to allow you to zoom out on the snapshot of your family's life and answer the question, are my kids thriving? We're here to inspire you to make those small and maybe big changes to answer yes. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pacific Preparatory and Tutor Corps, sister organizations committed to educating students with an innovative and holistic approach in today's digital world. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating and review. See you next time.